This episode is going to return to the timeline at the completion of the Giza complex in order to explore what happened next. The pyramids of Giza were built during the Old Kingdom towards the end of the 4th dynasty. Today we will look at dynasties 5 and 6, covering the changes that took place at that time, as well as the fall of the Old Kingdom. This covers from about 2575 to around 2175 BC. First, we will finish off the 4th dynasty. The pharaohs of the 4th dynasty had been obsessed with pyramid building. They built the largest ever. Shepseskaf, the last pharaoh of the dynasty, however, rejected the idea completely. Instead, he built a mastaba, not at Giza, but at the more traditional site of Saqqara. It seems that times were changing. However, the course of that change would take a different direction. Enter the 5th dynasty. These pharaohs are known as the Solar Pharaohs. Since the first pharaoh, pharaohs have been associating themselves with Horus, the hawk-headed god, branding themselves as a living incarnation of Horus. And although this would continue, now the sun god Re was all the rage, another hawk-headed god. In a slight rebranding, they were also claiming to be the son of Re. Due to this, there was a shift in the direction in how pharaohs channeled their resources and energy. The first pharaoh of the 5th dynasty, Abusir, marked the dynasty with a fresh start. And although he still built a pyramid, it was a small one, just 161 feet high. And these more modest-sized pyramids would continue to be the resting places for pharaohs throughout the remainder of the Old Kingdom. However, Abusir also embarked on another construction project. He would build a solar temple at the site of Abusir. It was the first of its kind. It had a valley temple. There was a causeway leading up to the entrance, and a courtyard enclosed within a wall. Inside there was an altar, before a large obelisk-type stone, and to the side there was a mud brick construction of a solar boat. The solar boat, by the way, was a mythical boat that the sun god Re used to sail across the sky and the underworld. Abusir's solar temple was the first of 5 to be built in the 5th dynasty. Another characteristic of these solar pharaohs was that many of them incorporated Re into their name. This was first done in the previous dynasty with the pharaoh Djefre, demonstrating the growing popularity of the sun god. It became a common feature in the late 4th and throughout the 5th dynasties. The pharaoh Unas was the last pharaoh of the 5th dynasty. He started a unique tradition. He built a small pyramid at Saqqara. Inside his burial chamber, he had texts carved all over the walls. Hundreds of hieroglyphs covered from top to bottom, all individually carved, and are known as the pyramid texts. The ancient Egyptians believed that they were magical spells designed to protect the body in the burial chamber, to protect the pharaoh as he crossed the sky into the west to the land of the dead, and to ensure the pharaoh was accepted into the next world. Also carved there is a text, known to us today as the Cannibal Hymn. This is a strange text describing the pharaoh eating his enemies, a metaphor no doubt for his victories over his foe. The first pharaoh of the 6th dynasty was Teti. He came to the throne by marrying the daughter of Unas, Queen Ipet. In ancient Egypt, the pharaoh would have a harem. At the top there was the Great Wife. She was the Queen of Egypt. He would also have a number of other wives who acted like minor queens. As well as that, the pharaoh took a number of concubines, which was also an official position within the royal household. The throne was claimed by the person who married the most senior princess produced by the harem. This was how Teti came to the throne. The pyramids built by the pharaohs of the 6th dynasty were even smaller than those constructed in the 5th, whereas the tombs of the nobles became increasingly larger. In some cases, their mastabas even rivaled the pharaoh's pyramid in size and grandeur. This has been interpreted as a clear indication that during this period, the wealth and influence of the nobles was increasing, as the power of the pharaohs was diminishing. Changes had been taking place during the 5th and 6th dynasties, whereas previously top government positions had often been monopolised by members of the royal family. However, it is unlikely that a single person, allocated multiple roles by right of birth, could excel in so many at the same time. Therefore, there was an expansion in government as many important roles were allocated to subjects outside the royal family based on merit. An example of this can be seen at a tomb found at Abydos. Inscribed there is an autobiography of a noble called Weni. According to his story, Weni began his career as a humble storehouse guard in the reign of Pepi I. Close proximity to the pharaoh opened opportunities that enabled him to become the head of the palace bodyguard. Weni tells an interesting tale of how in secret he investigated, prevented and judged a plot against Pepi I from within the royal harem. Weni also boasts that he went on to lead the Egyptian army against nomads that he called sand dwellers in southern Palestine. He would lead a total of 5 campaigns, and under Pepi I's successor, the pharaoh Merenre, he was appointed governor of Upper Egypt. Weni's biography demonstrates a career path which began modestly, but rose to one of the highest positions in the land by merit alone. Another inscription of an autobiography can be found in a tomb near the modern city of Aswan. It is the tomb of a man called Harkhuf, who was a royal official and the chief of scouts. According to his inscriptions, he led a number of expeditions to the land of Yam through hostile Nubian territory beyond the Egyptian southern border during the reign of the pharaoh Merenre. The aim was to bring back exotic goods to the royal court, to secure access of trade to sub-Saharan Africa, and to report on any political developments unfolding beyond Egypt's southern border. Harkhuf boasts how he returned from his 3rd expedition there with 300 donkeys laden with exotic goods. Under the boy king Pepi II, Harkhuf went on his 4th and final expedition to Yam. This seems to have been the highlight of his career, when he brought back a dancing dwarf for the young pharaoh. So pleased was Pepi II that he sent a letter to Harkhuf explaining that he wished to see this dwarf more than any other treasure, and that he would richly reward him to safely bring the dwarf to the royal palace. And Harkhuf had this letter inscribed within his tomb. Pepi II succeeded his brother Pharaoh Merenre, who had a short reign of about 5 years. Pepi II was a small boy of around 4 years of age when he came to the throne, and his reign was the longest reign recorded in Egyptian history, a whopping 94 years, if you can believe that. It was probably the case that Pepi's nobles increased their power whilst running the kingdom when he was a small boy, taking advantage of his naivety. However, the longevity of his reign further added to the decline of his power. Pharaohs were supposed to lead the army and run the kingdom. Pepi II became too old and too feeble to effectively do this. Nobles would have had to take on more and more responsibilities in the everyday running of the kingdom as the pharaoh got older and older. The nomarchs would have effectively began to rule their own nomes as they saw fit. On top of that, when Pepi II finally died, most of his children and even their children had already died, leaving no clear candidate to succeed him. Egypt became fractured and central authority disintegrated into smaller powers. This was the end of the Old Kingdom. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.